The story of the Mayflower. At sea. The Mayflower left Plymouth, England in September 1620. There were about 30 crew members and 102 travelers on board. They were traveling to America to live in the Virginia colony. Storms rocked the Mayflower as it crossed the Atlantic Ocean. The small ship was not built for such rough seas. Many of the travelers got sick. They played games, sang, or read to take their minds off their suffering. The travelers hoped life in America would be worth the long trip. Today we remember these people as the Pilgrims. In search of a new home, the Mayflower took 66 days to cross the Atlantic Ocean. As the ship sailed, bad weather blew it off course. The Pilgrims reached land near Cape Cod, which is on the coast of what is now Massachusetts. They were about 200 miles, 322 kilometers, north of the Virginia colony. The Pilgrims faced a hard choice. Should they try to go to Virginia, or should they stay and build a colony where they were? They were told to settle in Virginia. They might be breaking English law if they changed their plans. The Pilgrims also didn't know anything about the area. They decided to sail to Virginia, but their ship was nearly sunk by rocks off the coast. The Mayflower returned to the safety of Cape Cod Bay. The Pilgrims argued about what to do next. On November 11, 1620, all the men signed the Mayflower Compact. In the agreement, they promised to be loyal to the King of England. They wanted to show that they had not meant to break any laws by staying in Cape Cod Bay. The Compact also created a government. The Pilgrims agreed to listen to the colony leaders and follow the laws. The Pilgrims decided to stay and build their new home where they were. A long winter. In December 1620, the Pilgrims chose the west side of Cape Cod Bay for their colony. They called it Plymouth Colony. The Pilgrims faced a hard winter. The weather was very cold and many of the Pilgrims became sick. They took food from an empty native village close by. Still, many died from hunger. More than half of the Pilgrims died before the spring of 1621. As the days became warmer, the remaining Pilgrims had a problem. Their success depended on a good harvest. They didn't know much about the land or native plants, though. They didn't know what crops would grow well. Local help. In the spring of 1621, the Pilgrims met Squanto, a member of Patuxet tribe. Squanto played an important role in the Pilgrims' survival. He had been enslaved and taken to Europe years before, where he learned to speak English. Then he escaped and returned to his home in America. Squanto taught the Pilgrims how to plant corn and other native crops. He showed them which plants were safe to eat and the best places to hunt and fish. He also helped the Pilgrims work with the local native leaders to avoid battle. The Pilgrims had a good harvest that year. They would not be hungry when winter came. That fall, they shared a feast with Massasoit, a Wampanoag chief, and dozens of his people. The feast is now thought of as the first Thanksgiving. More English arrive. Over the next 50 years, the friendship between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag people weakened. More English colonists arrived in America, and they wanted more and more land. This led to war with the Wampanoag people in 1675. The English also brought deadly illnesses to America. These illnesses spread quickly. Thousands of native people became sick. Most of the Native Americans in New England died from these illnesses. Today, the relatives of these native people and others gather in Plymouth, Massachusetts. On Thanksgiving Day each year, they mark it as a national day of mourning for how their people have suffered. Conclusion. The arrival of Pilgrims marked an important time in American history, disrupted the land and shattered the lives of native peoples. For some time, though, there was peace between the Pilgrims and the Wampanoag people. The peace they shared is remembered as an example of understanding between people. The knowledge Squanto and Wampanoag shared helped the Pilgrims endure hard times. Their story is important to the history of the English settlement in America.